The year was 1999, before the age of smartphones, before the age of the internet search. One could find themselves at the tail end of either an awful or an excellent movie, or somewhere in between. Find out after the credits to see where today's movie stacks up. Chaos Infinity Productions is proud to introduce yet another contributor, Mr. B, and this is B Movies with Booze. I am Mr. B, and this is B Movies with Booze, a show where I review B-style movies, or movies that may not be really well known here in the United States, or movies with the letter B in it, or pretty much any reason to watch a movie. I don't get out much. So the way this works is this. I review a movie and help you find out what kind of booze best pairs with this movie. Is this the kind of movie where you need to be a teetotaler? Is this a red wine kind of movie? Do you need a six-pack? Do you need a six-pack of beer to get through this movie? Or do you have to drink so much you have to join Alcoholics Anonymous afterwards? Bad movie. Well, today's movie is called Strictly Ballroom. Yes, I know, the name sounds weird, so here we go. Strictly Ballroom. It's a 1992 Australian romantic comedy film. Now, you might be saying to yourself, Australia, isn't that where the Hobbit movies come from? Yes, the Lord of the Rings movies come from, well, technically New Zealand, not Australia. There's a whole emotionally scarring backstory there. You see, this isn't history. So anyways, okay, so the movie is directed and co-written by Baz Luhrmann. Who is this Baz Luhrmann? I literally have no idea. I know that later on there was a film called Moulin Rouge that Baz is involved in. Now, if I remember correctly, Moulin Rouge chronicles the stories of a young Obi-Wan Kenobi eking out a living in New Orleans, I believe. I could be wrong there. So, where in the world do I fit into this movie? Honestly, I had never seen a romantic film before. No romantic comedies, no romantic films. Why? Because it was the late 90s and Jim Carrey was on fire.
Rock and roll! Your hands on fire! So it is! Well then, drop and roll is a good idea.
So, no chick flicks for me. So, my knowledge of Australian cinema is about as deep as Mad Max and about as wide as Crocodile Dundee. I know that people came from lands down under, women grow, I think, and men...
They come from a land down under. Get a bird in your head up and there.
I knew there were some rescuers who went down there once, but really that was about it. But then, I met this young...
Well, there's this girl.
Of course, I ended up marrying her one day, but in those days, I just went with the flow and watched it because, you see, I guess in the 80s, there was this dance movie craze, Dirty Dancing, and there was stuff with, like, Baryshnikov and all these dance movies. I had no idea. Also, keep in mind, this was before the age of Dancing with the B-list stars. The internet was not in wide use back then. I mean, other than checking out books from the library. I mean, everyone checked out books from the library with the internet. That's what it's for. I literally went into this movie blind. So what is this film about? Well, it's your traditional romantic comedy where the dorky girl ends up with the hot guy. Now, the hot guy, known as Scotty, he does things differently. He's a rebel. In the ballroom, he makes up his own dance steps. He doesn't keep it strictly ballroom. So this film is about a girl falling for the rebel. I didn't know this was a thing in romantic movies. Well, technically, I knew about the whole rebel thing from Star Wars, but I didn't really see the predictable parts of this movie coming because I just didn't have the experience with it. Having said all that, this movie has some genuine funny moments, if you don't take it seriously. I am all about comedy and laughing. I don't like horror movies or gross movies. I'm looking at you, Peter Jackson, and your New Zealand horror nightmare that my friend Ian put me through. Oh my goodness, cannot do horror movies. Made me throw up. So nasty. To enjoy this movie, there's a couple of things you have to do. 1. Suspend all belief in reality that dance does not matter. No Dancing with the Stars. I do not care what season you're in. I was done after Cheryl Burke and the Lachey guy, and thank you very much. 2, to enjoy this movie, expect anything, including an emotionally scarring backstory that Dr. Doofenshmirtz would be proud of. I won't spoil it for you, but
Age. My father decided that it would be me.
I won't spoil it for you, but I did not know that dancing has a dark history. So where do I place this movie overall? What kinds of booze would you need for this film? First, a disclaimer, I was 18 and not drinking legally then, so I actually saw this movie sober. Yes, you can see it sober. I mean, you have to suspend some disbelief, sure, but generally, this is a chick flick. So if you're going to watch a chick flick, I'm going to personally recommend a white wine that you could find at your local Dairy Mart or your local Costco. You do not need to blow a bunch of money on wine here. Now, Australia does have wine, if you're interested in Australian or New Zealand wine, but that's a whole different story. Where do I rank this movie? Well, first, there's the plot. I give it a 3 out of 5, and that would be like 3 wine glasses out of 5. It's predictable, but that's not really a bad thing if you know what you're getting into. The music is a 4 out of 5, and the reason I would say a 4 out of 5 is because it's all nostalgic dance music. So if you love the 80s and 90s style dance music stuff, if you like Dirty Dancing, if you like that kind of thing, then yeah, okay, you're going to like it. Camera work, I'd give it a 3 out of 5 in the camera work department. One of the reasons is because the camera does a very good job of panning and spinning and following the dance movie style, which is characteristic of these movies. If you like Dancing with the Stars, if you like So You Think You Can Dance, you're going to like this movie. A wild card here. For things I did not expect, this movie gets a 4 out of 5 because, look, there's all these Australian accents, which are hilarious to us Americans, and I'm sure we sound just as ridiculous to everyone else in the world. I'm looking at you people from England. People from the United Kingdom, excuse me. I'm sure you look at us crazy Americans and our backwards hillbilly accent. The thing that I didn't really expect was Australian accents and Latin dance. I don't really know a lot about the Latin culture in Australia. There were a lot of Spanish speakers in the movie. The girl's family was of a Latino type descent. I thought that was really kind of interesting. So it was different, but it was pretty familiar. Again, if you watch Dancing with the Stars, you've heard other accents from people, Len Goodman, Bruno Tonioli, etc. Family friendliness. I'm going to give it 2.5 out of 5. I mean, it's not really... There's a couple of swear words thrown around here and there, and if you're not into swear words, then you're going to be like, ugh. But it's not really too bad. There's kind of a scene with a little bit of too much inappropriateness, but we're talking 4 or 5 seconds. If you preview this movie, you can probably fast forward through it. By the way, people who don't know what fast forwarding means, back in the days of VCR tapes, when there was an inappropriate scene, you closed your eyes while your parents hit the fast forward button on the the VCR player. DVDs. So overall, I'm going to give this about 3.5 glasses of white wine, pairing with this movie very nicely. I would also recommend a Vegemite sandwich if you're into that sort of thing. And so, this has been the first episode of B Movies with Booze. I'm Mr. B. Coming soon, get your maple syrup and Kraft macaroni dinner ready because we're going up north, eh? And don't forget to hit that like and subscribe button at the bottom. We could really use it.